Right, so let's get started. So, welcome to the podcast pitch party. And today, I'm going to help you bring your podcast to life. So, I'm Melina, a podcast coach and strategist, and today I'm going to help you refine your podcast concept and turn it into something that your clients um, will binge, right? That's what we want to do. Um, Hi, Sonia. Thanks for coming. All right, so let me let you know how this works. You're going to pitch your podcast idea. I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback, and I'm going to let you know what's working, what to improve, and how to make it a little bit better. And if you already have a podcast, this could also be a good experience for you because you actually might find some things that you are missing from your podcast. So maybe some tweaks you can actually take away from today to make your podcast speak to your dream clients. So I want to tell you a little bit about a brand new membership that I started. If you're looking for support in launching your podcast or growing your podcast, this membership is called Become a Pod Star. Membership will to help you because I use the methods that I use with my clients and the strategies. So it's in-depth guidance of how to actually do that for your podcast. If you're stuck somewhere or if you're stuck in your launching part of podcasts, I'm there for you and you get a monthly call with me and then ongoing support through the membership. All right, so let me give you a bit of the guidelines for today. So what you'll do is to respect everyone's time. It's about 5 to 7 minutes for each pitch. You will come up, pitch, and then I'll give you a little bit of feedback. And what the format today is the podcast name, if you have one, and then your target audience, also who it's for, and then your theme, what's your podcast talking about or centered around, and then the format you want to use. Do you want to use solo? Do you want to use interview? Do you want to mix it up or storytelling? What do you want your podcast format to be? And then if you have any other details that will help your podcast stand out, please let me know that as well. Hi, Darnell. Thanks for joining. So I was just giving a little bit of the guidelines for today. And so also please stay muted during this event. And then when you come up to pitch, please raise your hand and or in the chat put pitch, and then I'll know who's next. And because I just want to make sure that the that we can all hear each other today. And also, let's stay focused when we come up here. Let's have it all about podcasting in your podcast pitch. All right. So, anyone want to come up and do a little pitch? Anyone have any ideas? Just raise your hand or put in the chat.
Hi, Melina, it's
Yeah.
Simone.
Hi.
I have a question. What is your recommendation for how, like, I'm thinking of like a shorter podcast, something along the lines of like a moment of serenity with Simone, like just
Mhm.
kind of like giving advice on certain things that I've gone through in life for that. And so to start, I'm thinking maybe, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. Do you think that's too short for a podcast? Do you think it should be a different type of platform? I'm not sure.
Okay, I like this question. So, when you're going to be giving advice, what what is your advice centered? I mean, the length I think is probably perfect, but I think as you evolve with your podcast, you might change the length depending on how you see people, how much people are actually listening to the episode. Maybe you'll make it shorter, maybe you'll make it longer, depending on maybe that kind of feedback that you get from your listeners. But for your podcast concept, what kind of other than who are you looking to speak to is my
Okay,
question.
so right, so my audience, right?
Yeah.
My demographic. So I'm thinking about like um my medium essays, kind of converting them into more podcasts.
Oh.
So I've spoken about um, you know, kind of more behavioral types of things,
Mhm.
uh, really based in communications though, because that's my field. But how to communicate, um, but really what internal communication is. So, the relationship that you have with yourself and
Mhm.
how that translates into external situations. And of course, it's about storytelling. So, uh,
Mhm.
again, um, relating back to any experiences that I've had and sharing that as well in the story, but then having a you know, an overarching message
Mhm.
regarding the relationship with self. So basically taking my ideas from essay form to more of an audio. So I've been thinking about that, just not sure how to do I go by script? Like, do I take like one of my essays and shorten it and turn it into like a script form? Do I speak off the, just off the top of my head? Like how do I make that work?
Yeah, so with my clients, usually they do use a script, but sometimes people find that the script doesn't work for them. So it's kind of understanding how I would say practice recording first and see what resonates with you. Do you like just talking off the top of your head, or do you like having the script and reading from the script? Because sometimes when you're reading from a script, you can kind of sound robotic. So some people don't like that aspect so that they're usually tweaking their script a bit to make it sound a little bit better. So that kind of sometimes makes the process a little longer, but it's kind of a discovery phase as well. So if you're not used to recording your voice, it's you're discovering who or how you like to do it, right?
Oh, okay, definitely. Yes. That's so practice. That's the key word that
Yeah.
I heard. It,
Yes. And you can just do it on your phone on memos on I don't know if you have an iPhone memo, or I'm sure that Android has something that's similar. And then I think on memo you actually also get the transcript. So maybe if you're speaking into your phone and then you're saying something really great, and for me, I can't remember when I say something really great, but then you have the transcript so you can go back and look at it, and then you're like, oh, I said something that I really want in my podcast. So you can kind of use that as well.
oh, okay. That I do have a history of using voice memos. I'm actually
Oh,
a
great.
singer slash
Oh.
voiceover in my past. I studied it a bit. But I never thought about the transcript being where I can,
Mhm.
it can already, is that an AI tool?
I think it's a newer feature on the iPhone. I'm not sure if the Android, I'm sure they probably have something that's going to be similar coming out. So Um, yeah, maybe I'll do a little research and then let you know in the DMs if I
Oh,
find
yeah.
anything out about that. For sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And then I was going to say, so what I'm hearing from you is relationship with yourself. I feel like that is something that should be in your title. And I know you're thinking of calling it, what was it, the podcast name you were thinking
Yeah,
about?
I'm not married to that. It was just like a moment of serenity with Simone. Like
Mhm.
it's just something that just popped up.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not married to that name. So please do make
Okay.
any suggestions.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say, um, really, we want to focus on your target audience. So whatever they are searching for in their search, those are the words you want in your podcast title. So, relationship with self sounds like something that someone would be actually searching. So, if there's a way,
The SEO,
mhm,
keeping that in mind. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah. And then you also said something else. It something about the journey, and I was thinking that really would resonate as well in a podcast name. What can you remember what you said? Something about the journey.
Oh, I don't remember, but the journey
Okay.
of self sounds good too.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
the
mean,
journey of self.
I get what
Yeah.
you're saying though. Like,
hmm hmm
it's making sense. Okay, all right.
Yeah, the journey of self. Something in those terms would really make a really nice title, I think, for your podcast. And then maybe not with Simone. I mean, you can have your title and then say with Simone underneath, or you might want to bring in a tagline to really pinpoint your target audience as well. But that's something to think about. All right.
Yes, and the tagline is also something that when people are searching, like when they're
Mhm.
doing SEO, for
Yeah.
it to be possibly something that will come up in more
Yeah.
searches. So I'll think about that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have a pitch? Anything or any questions about what we just talked about? Anything come up for anyone? All right. So I'm thinking, oh, oh yeah, sure. Darnell, go ahead, unmute yourself and speak.
Hey, what's up, Maylena?
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you in advance for answering my question. So, so you already know a little bit about what I'm up to.
Mm-hmm.
But for those not listening, I guess we'll just pretend it's like your first time hearing it and stuff. Because I do have a question at the end of it.
Okay.
But essentially, for my podcast, what I'm trying to figure out is are the disadvantages between doing like a seasonal podcast, something that's like released once or twice a year, think episodic television versus indefinitely, and consistently throughout time. Specifically, I guess for this type of podcast, maybe even, I guess it would help to, I don't know if your answer to that question is kind of a one size fits all thing, or does it depend on the type of podcast it is and its themes? Could you give me a little bit of context on that?
Yeah, so I do love seasons. And I do work, some of my clients are on seasons, some are episodic where it just comes out weekly. So I do find that sometimes it's a nice to have a break with your podcast and give it season so that you have that time to kind of recuperate, or maybe you have so many projects going on in a year, so it's nice to have seasons so you can fit that podcast between
Mm,
maybe those bigger projects that you're doing or that other focus. So it doesn't take away too much. We want to balance, right, with the work that we do.
right.
Um, but I'm thinking about you because I know a little bit about you and Forge. Thinking that possibly with yours, because I know we kind of talked about Forge kind of it's open and then it's not open. So maybe
Mm,
the seasons could go with when it opens up. I'm not sure, or start off before it
mm,
opens up, and then that's really a nice way into now the doors are open. Please, go in and get in now, you know. So that kind of could be something to maybe implement with the way that you are running your podcast.
any things that you're seeing? I appreciate that answer, by the way,
Yeah.
Maylina. Any things that you're seeing from like a listener standpoint, like which of those two routes do most people resonate with, or particularly
Mhm.
in my case, if you know anything about creatives and creative entrepreneurs, what they kind of prefer. Do they prefer to kind of have you in their ear on a weekly basis, or is
Mhm.
or is it all just depend?
Yeah. So me just thinking about my own listening experience, I do have podcasts that let me know that they're going to be taking a break and I know when they'll be coming back. So there is no disconnect and I know when to go back to that podcast.
Okay.
And I appreciate that they do that as a listener, but then there are those episodes that I do want to listen to weekly. Um, but I also have clients that do so well with their seasonal podcast, and they don't have a problem picking back up from where they were. Their downloads and their listeners are still there when they return. And I think that is because of the work that they do in between seasons. They don't stop promoting their podcast or talking about it. They continue to speak about it and continue the conversation. And maybe that's why it does do so well. So,
Gotcha. So
yeah.
then lastly, I don't know if you needed me to like summarize or give you the description for what the podcast would be about. But my last question for you, super quick, Melina, was around what would you personally do if you were me between those two directions? Would you go seasonal or open-ended
Um,
based on everything that you know? Yeah, what would you personally do? I'd love to know.
yeah, because I know a little bit about you. I would do, I'd probably go a little beyond. So for me, a season is 3 months. So maybe for you, I would go for your kind of your first season back because you're coming back from a
Hmm.
little bit of a break. I would say go maybe 4 to 5 months and then take a break and see if, I mean, yeah, I would just take a break and then kind of see how your analytics are looking, what people are saying about the podcast, and maybe even do some surveys between that time so that you can make sure that you're coming back with a podcast that is able to take seasons. Um,
Okay.
I really do like the season method because, like I said, I think it gives you a break and then you're not
Mm.
feeling like you're going to be burning out because you always have to be continuously doing this thing weekly or taking the time and batching monthly, right? So,
It sounds like you were given that recommendation, Melina, because of maybe that's the recommendation you give to people who are up to other things outside of a podcast. So if all that I did was be a podcast host, no other thing that I was doing in my life,
mhm,
like it seems that you see people do that like just continuously. They got a team that can
yeah.
help them do it, and they just do it indefinitely. But
Hmm.
because I'm up to other things, I like what you said about having that break
Hmm.
of forewarning listeners ahead of time, hey, we taking a break, or this is going to be a 12 episode slash 3 month podcast, that sort of thing. So that's
Yeah.
really helpful because I have been struggling with that, and I appreciate you helping.
Yeah, and I saw that when I was working with my clients. That's why I kind of created this method of doing the 12 weeks because therefore they feel like, okay, I get to, take my summer vacation and I don't have to be thinking about my podcast, or I can just take this time and actually put in the work that I want to do, or I have another project and I want to be able to do both and not have to let go of one, right? So,
Super quick, super quick. Last thing, because you sent me on a tangent a little bit, but this is like a question related to that. So when
yeah.
it comes to seasonal, Maylena, would it be like once a year type of thing, or are you having clients do like 2 seasons a year, that type of thing? What do you recommend
Yeah, my clients are either doing 2 or 3 seasons, depending.
per year?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. Wow, I thought it was just once a year. Okay,
yeah,
okay, duly noted. Okay. Thank you so much for giving
yeah,
me some feedback on this.
for
Have been
sure.
struggling with it, and I'm glad I got some clarity about this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for that question. That was awesome. All right. Anyone have any other questions, or I could go into maybe some more examples of podcast pitches. Um, if that's something that's interesting to anyone. Sonia, you have it. Oh,
Yeah,
hi.
yeah, I do. Hey, okay,
Hey.
so I don't have a podcast. I mean,
Mhm.
I can do it, but I really give me ideas. I'm here. I just say the SEO genius here, but that's it. But for my female coaches out there,
Yeah.
but no idea. So that's why I'm here. Give me ideas. Give me your genius because
Okay.
I don't know how to start. I understand the season stuff is pretty new to me, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So for you, I could see because I know a little bit about you. I know that you're you have, right, you call your the people who work with you your amigas, right? So
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that would be amazing in your podcast title, or like you said, SEO genius for female coaches, or is that what you said? Female coaches or women
Yeah.
coaches? Yeah.
Hmm.
So actually, I think that is a possible title for your podcast. And I think for you, I mean, I have my 12 episode method. So that would show you how to speak about what you do to your audience without it feeling overwhelming to you. So each episode, you would get your outline for what you should be talking about. I know that you've done my first episode challenge, so we did that. So what I said was you talk a bit about yourself, give your story or that kind of like your pitch story, right? That you tell everyone when you meet them. You give that in your first episode, and then you give them like a little juicy tip. So that's what you would do in your first episode. But I'm but like I said, for you, I would concentrate on how you help your clients. And you have so many of those great short form videos that you talk about what you do for your clients in the episodes. I mean, in your videos. So the episodes you could go even deeper into what you're talking about. And because it's audio, it's not something that I mean, probably video would be helpful, but that's what your clips are for. Then you could use your clips and talk more about what you do, and then the clips could guide people maybe to want to, go to your website, or you would also be talking about your website in your podcast episode so that they're going there to find out more about what you do. But I think that would be a nice flow for your podcast. And I could also imagine having a Q&A part of your podcast as well. Um, Maybe have 3 episodes a month you do about like who you help, like how you help them in each of the episodes, and then you'll give like kind of a little bit about how you helped them, and you'll give that to them so that they can actually implement that after listening to your podcast. So you do maybe 3 of those episodes each month, and then you do a Q&A. And I know you're having a Q&A soon. Um, uh,
Tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah.
audio. So I'm thinking, I don't know if it's possible, but what if you could use maybe some audio from those events that you have, right? In
Mhm.
that Q&A episode that you do. I'm not sure if the audio would be great, but if the audio is not great, you can also read them off and then kind of show that how you implement with someone how to do it. And I think that kind of episode really resonates with people as well.
That's interesting because yeah, I'm doing the live events
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I always see, I use Spotify, of course, so I see the audio, but I also see the video. So
Mm.
is it optional? It's like, I really was like, I don't know how that works. Like,
Yeah. For right now, most of my clients, they're recording their whole episodes, but they aren't putting those on YouTube yet. They actually just use them usually for clips and then they add those clips, do them as shorts or put them on Spotify. So with Spotify, you can add the video after your podcast has been uploaded. You can add the whole entire video if you want, or you can add just video clips. That's like their newest push as they're doing video clips, which is nice and fun way to be interactive. And then I think it's also good for people who don't have the time to put in for the YouTube, the full video on YouTube.
Mm.
So that is a way.
Cause that was my other question. Like, should I start? Is there like, I don't know the idea, but the way to start your podcast just on let's say Spotify or Apple? I mean, of course, YouTube, I will put it there. It's just because, search engine and
Yeah.
the SEO part
Yes.
of it. But
Right.
then when it comes to the other platforms, I see so many of them. Even my clients use a lot of them. And I'm like, I don't know
Mhm.
which is the right one. Because if I'm already doing the videos and the live events is kind of just repurposing, I'm
Mhm.
feeling. Because I
Mhm.
really didn't know where to start, how to do it. But you gave me a new idea. Like it's actually easier for me to just repurpose in a way. Start
Right.
with
Right.
that.
Yeah. And also,
But yeah.
you could use those questions that you're getting in your live events as podcast episodes, titles. Like that's a title right there. And then you
Mhm.
have an episode about it. And like I said to Simone, the episodes don't have to be more than 20 minutes. I think if they're solo episodes, I think 20 minutes is enough for an episode. It can be as short as 8 minutes. I've seen episodes. So 8 to 20 minutes. So there is possibility of starting a podcast, even if you are, you know, thinking that you might not have enough to say. You probably have enough to say for 8 minutes, right? And that will be valuable to your ideal client, right? So
Okay. Okay, that's good. Thank you. I mean, I do talk a lot, so it
I,
just yeah. Okay, thank you. That really helped.
awesome, great. Hi, Susie. So Simone said she was going to ask the question whether we should record a video while podcasting or using it for shorts. Yeah, so she was saying that using it for shorts makes sense. Yeah, I think I have clients that want to do it all. They want to record the podcast and record the video. And soon after implementing all of that, they realize that they kind of bit off too much and they're trying to do it all. I think it's great if we start out with focusing on the audio podcast and then having the clips. So record the episode. Even if you have to have your phone on the side, right? And and you only look at it, ever so often, you're going to record a nice short clips that you're going to be able to repurpose, right? So just doing that can kind of get you warmed up to where you need to be able to take on that full um, YouTube video and producing that because that's definitely extra work. So it's possible. People do it, but it's also I think nice to be able to start and not put that much pressure on yourself. Okay, so Darnell was saying, yeah, I agree. So he's saying that he'll do certain episodes for direct viewers to go listen to episodes while piquing their interest. Yeah, that's great. I like that idea. Hi, Susie. We're just kind of chatting here a little bit. I don't know if you had a pitch you wanted to pitch your podcast idea, and then we'll give the feedback.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of more of a recent idea, and I was excited when I saw your this event. I was like, well, hey, this is a good timing to just
Perfect.
float the idea. It's very early stages. But one kind of avenue path that I'm going down in my business is really helping families who want to world school, digital nomad lifestyle, and or like take a workcation, basically like
Mhm.
travel and live abroad. And I was thinking that I've got a lot, I mean, a huge list of people who either have done this or are like currently in progress with planning it. And I thought that, I could just interview, it would be much very like storytelling based. So
Mhm.
interviews
Okay.
with individuals that have, done this or are in progress. And potentially I could do like shorter solo episodes in between. That's like a bit more like bite-sized educational um, on topics, or even interviewing experts that would be helpful, like somebody who helps with taxes,
Mhm. Yeah.
with like, just all of those other things that you kind of need to consider before taking a leap like that. So that's the high level, you know, where I'm at with kind of sketching out what that podcast could look like.
Mhm.
And I'd love feedback.
Yeah. Well, I love this idea, and it's like I know a little bit about you and what you do, helping people travel and take sabbaticals. So I love this idea because it's not like, I mean, I don't know if this is like a new avenue for you, but I really like this helping families be able to have more of that nomad life, even with children, and how that's all possible. So this is piquing my interest as well. So I think you definitely have a nice, clear audience. You know who you're speaking to, and that's very important. I would say what to I love that you want to do solo episodes. So right away, I want to start with an interview the first episode. You want to make sure
Mm,
that you're introducing it with yourself and introducing who you are and kind of what you do as well. And then maybe episode uh 3. So maybe first episode be the welcome episode, the second episode, um, you maybe talk about, well, the first episode, you might talk about yourself a little bit and about how you have a child. And then I don't know if I might be just making this up, but like maybe this is something you're thinking about in your life, and
hmm
how what a wonderful space it would be for be people to have parents to have this space where they can get the knowledge so that they're not, searching, and they can just find it on your podcast, right? So that would be episode 1. And then episode 2, I'm not quite sure what it would be, but I think by the third episode, then you can start introducing those interviews.
hmm
Um, and then you also mentioned another type of episode you were going to do. You said,
Well, I think that
solo.
there's kind of two paths of
Yeah.
interviews. One would be of, families that are doing
Mhm.
this or are in progress. The
Yeah.
other would be experts in, the field that also help people who are
Mhm.
living this
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
lifestyle.
Helping them actually
Um,
do it. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, like I said, you want to make sure that you're still focusing, because I'm guessing you still want slightly a focus on what you do and how you can help them as well, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you
It's
would love,
essentially a funnel, like top of
right, right,
funnel.
right,
Right.
exactly. So you would want them to work with you. So
hmm
maybe the first 3 episodes are more focused on you, what you do, and how you help people, and then go into maybe the first kind of interview one is the how to actually get this done, right? So,
hmm
and then after that, that have more of storytelling ones of people who have actually done that. So how to, and then a storytelling one with someone who has accomplished this. So that's
Hmm.
how I would kind of structure that part. But yeah, I think you have a really great, unique idea here. I haven't heard about a podcast focused in this space. So I
I mean, I've been interviewed on a few kind of
okay.
related, like there's
Yeah.
one I was interviewed is called Sabbatical Stories. So that's not family focused, but
Mhm.
it's just people who take sabbaticals, career breaks.
Right.
Um, there's actually it's kind of a small world once you tap into like
Hmm.
sabbaticals, world schooling, like all of that is very kind of closely related. But there's a few others like in the world school side of things. I think that my unique perspective is more in the and expertise is more in the travel planning of it
Hmm. Yeah.
and helping people choose like the destinations and kind of like formulate that itinerary and how they want to use travel in this whole experience and obviously just this creating guidance and structure in, how to make this as step by step as possible because it's for most people generally something they have not done or know somebody, like it's not like everybody has a best friend that's done this with their family.
Yeah.
So it's, something that also people are specifically seeking out because they don't know anybody and it's a very specific need or pain that I would
Hmm.
be providing
Right.
some
Right.
help with.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I think I see a lot of potential with that. Um, I'm thinking just throwing out world schooling might, I'm thinking possibly have it in the name, but then people might think that's more of an educational podcast about how to
Yeah.
do world
I
schooling.
think
So,
I think that I mean this is going to align with like a future program that I'm looking to launch. I'm
okay.
doing some market research calls in the next few
Hmm.
weeks. I think that the common theme, because there's like a few different branches of how you can do this, but ultimately, like they are all under the umbrella of living abroad. Whether that's moving to one country and staying there for an extended period of time or permanently, or, bouncing around, regardless, you're leaving your home country for a
Hmm.
certain period of time. And so, I haven't quite gotten the name of it,
Hmm.
but something along the lines of like living abroad and,
Yeah.
family, kind of weaving that in. But yeah, because I think world schooling is a little too specific.
Hmm.
But it would be a pillar, I suppose, of, a path that
Right.
would be under that larger umbrella.
Yeah. Well, I love that idea, and I hope that helped a little bit of some clarity for you today.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Awesome.
That's good. I hadn't really thought, I mean, because I haven't gone down the path of really researching, how to structure the podcast and um, all of that. But that's helpful just to kind of think about, some intro
Hmm.
episodes that people can, just easily binge, get the
Right.
backstory
Right.
before diving into interviews. So there's,
Yeah.
kind of some foundational
Right.
knowledge of like
Who you
why
are.
I'm even doing
Yeah.
this.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think it's also always good to start that foundation strong so that they understand where you're coming from and they're more invested, right? They know a little bit more about you. So they're more invested in listening and taking the journey with you on
Yeah.
with your podcast. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem. Thank you. All right. So I hope this was helpful today, and I hope you all felt like you got your answers, your some answers to your questions today. And I just want to say this is part of the work that I do in my membership, Become a Pod Star. Um, I focus mainly on my 12 episode method in that membership, and I help you create a podcast that speaks to your ideal clients. And help you to make those adjustments and get your podcast out there into the world. And also in that program, I also help you grow your podcast and give you the steps to do so, so that you're not trying to figure out how to actually get from just launching to actually growing my podcast and being able to be seen by more people. So thank you everyone for joining and coming. And if you're interested in the membership, please DM me after or go to my featured section on LinkedIn and go check out the membership. But if not, if anyone else has any more questions, I'll take questions. If not, have a wonderful day. And I hope you guys have a good Friday and a and yes.
I have a question.
Yes, okay.
So, we worked on my podcast idea. I have yet to come up with a name. I believe it was a while ago, but I believe
Yes.
it was something dealing with helping people want to start a business, because I help business owners and content creators.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I said I wanted to be like fun, lively.
Yes.
So maybe a title that has to do with that as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I helped you with a podcast roadmap or map out of your podcast. I remember that. And
Yes.
so I think we were focusing on your unique view because you said you like to work with sorry, who was your target audience? Let me know your target audience again.
It was quirky business owners and content creators.
Yeah. Um, and actually I think did we make a mock-up? I feel like I have a mock-up of your podcast cover art, something.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I can't find
And
it.
I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm
all I see is
thinking.
yeah, it's in the PDF file. I'm finding the PDF file, but I'm not finding my answers.
Okay. I
But
think
I'm gonna
it's the something about the Quirky Brand Show or Quirky Brand Show. But I think now thinking about it, with your focus being with kind of so who do you specifically like working with? Um, like what do you specifically like doing in branding? Maybe
in
that can
in
help.
branding, I like to help people who want to increase brand awareness and or brand loyalty. And some examples of some of the like industries that they work in, the beauty industry, sports industry, specifically like professional wrestlers, in the animal industry as well,
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and fashion.
so I'm thinking brand branding for branding for those who like branding for misfits or something like that, like people
Okay.
that don't quite feel like they have their a space that they belong or they feel like they're different or they're more creative. So maybe a word that brings that out. Branding for yeah, branding for misfits or branding for those who trying to think of a word here.
I guess for now I could just do like nerds maybe,
Yeah,
because I know
like
I did a
well,
blog.
yeah, I like that, but I feel like that might be too broken down, like too niched,
Too
uh,
niche. Okay.
for nerds. Really got to find that word. Like this, there's a word I'm looking for.
um
But
I think
maybe
misfits worked though, or like for the weirdos or something like that.
for those who feel like they don't have a place or thinking something like that. Let me DM you some ideas because I'm thinking, yeah, I think So branding, but do you have a specific word that you use for the branding? Like what do people come to you for? Brand design, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
brand design.
It's brand design for the misfits. I don't know. I'm really like stuck on that misfit word. I don't know if that really resonates with people at all, but yeah,
Similar, because
yeah.
okay. But thank you though. You got me thinking because I still just have not come up with that. And I found the document. It was to help those people stand out from their
hmm
industry.
hmm
That was the topic, the
Oh
theme.
yeah. Okay, so stand out, like something like stand out with your unique personality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect, perfect. That's actually what I do. Perfect. That's what I do.
Yeah, so some iteration of those words, and maybe that might be the tagline. So maybe you want to call it like I wouldn't say branding for nerds, but oh, go ahead, Sonia. You can talk if you have anything to add or you have another question.
I have another question
Okay, no problem.
related, but yeah,
That's
go ahead.
okay. That's okay. Yeah, so did you write that down, Eileen?
And I'm going to type it down right
Okay.
now.
Okay. Yeah, DM me that what I just said, and then I'll help you with the beginning because I'm thinking that might be part of the tagline. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I-
All right, Sonia.
She got me thinking about, the name and stuff. What if you pick the name, but for some reason, right, if it's not being found? I always think about the SEO technical part. Can you
Yeah.
change that later? Or like, so for example, for her, there's so many avenues, but
Mhm.
even when we did the blog challenge, we
Yeah.
found some keywords, but I don't know, it can change. Even for me, I'm thinking. So can you do that? But how often can you change the name as well? I don't know. Like, is there like
Yeah.
some guidelines if you do that, let's say?
So you could change your name every week if you wanted to with your
Mm-hmm.
podcast. It doesn't have to stay the same, but for consistency, you want to have a name that you're sticking with for a while. And if you are changing it, it is nice to let your audience know as well, right? So that they're not confused and maybe then they can't find your podcast at some point. I mean, I think if you have repeat listeners, they're probably following your podcast. So that would not do anything. That your podcast would still show up exactly the same way, even if you change the title, which is nice. So, so that's what I would say. It's just for consistency, you want to pick a name that you can stay with for a long time. But if you need to rebrand, revamp, pivot, your name can be changed and you should never be worried about changing it. Um, so that's, yeah, what I'd say.
And I'm very okay. I'm just going. I'm very technical, and sometimes that really hurts my creativity. So
Yep.
for putting the names, I really go based on like what are people searching, right?
hmm
Because I can put, I think about people when they come up with their names, even with their website, and then nobody's typing that, and I'm like, I don't want that. So, do you think that, as someone new that is starting out, should you name your podcast something that is more researchable, I'll say, or and then later on you can make it, very creative, but as long
Yeah.
as it's being found, or you do that through each episode? I don't know.
No, I definitely go with the best SEO title that you should start there.
Mm,
And, and, yeah, and I think that's the hard part about being creative. You want that creative name because it sounds so good to you. And you're like, I haven't heard this before. And no one, and then you're doing your research and no one has this podcast name. But the thing is, you can have a creative name as long as your tagline has those SEO words in it. So that's how you can kind of get around that. But I also say, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, you want your title to
Yeah.
just be the one that's super searchable, right? You want that one to be
Mhm.
the SEO title. So you can play around with it and see, but that's what I would say.
Okay. Nice. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Eileen, Simone said a unique pathway to brand loyalty. I like that suggestion. It's nice. Brand loyalty.
Thank
That's
you. I love
a
this.
good.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna type it down.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. All right. Anyone have any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for joining. Thanks, and I appreciate it. Thanks, Susie, Simone, Eileen, Sonia, and Darnell, who was here. Thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. See
Thanks,
you guys.
Melina. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.